Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Culture. Heart and soul of what is culture? Kala in Sanskrit, Kalvi in Tamil, culture in English, and Kol in French have all a common root meaning. Since it's a matter concerning all humanity, it has a similar sounding word with a similar meaning too. Kala means something that keeps growing, like Chandra Kalai for the crescent moon. Similarly, Kalai or art gives sustained growth to the mind. There is no end to this growing. Even the goddess of learning, Saraswati, says, "What I have learnt is a fistful, while what is not yet learnt is as big as the world." So she keeps at it. The word in Tamil, Kalacharam, is of recent origin. Panbu and Panpadu are the earlier words, bringing in a connotation of delicate subtlety of expression. Noble nuances of expression has grown into many art forms of dance, drama, sculpture, music, literature, painting, cinema, handicrafts, pottery, and so on. It has also taken the form of sacrifice, service, and philanthropy in its concern for human welfare. This idea, when it expands the utmost, takes the form of universal unconditional love. That is the highest culture because it is the noblest of human expressions, wishing to enfold the whole universe in its embrace. What is the measure of a nation's culture? Everyone in a country cannot be cultured. The liars, fools, thieves, frauds, scoundrels, and scalwags will also be there. Despite their being present, how do you assess a country as culturally okay or not okay? After investigating a patient with many ailments, the doctor may say, "Nothing much to worry about since his heart is okay." Similarly, despite many problems, which is the heart and soul of the matter for a nation's well being? Yes, such a heart and soul of the matter can be identified. That is the nation's culture expressed through its literature. This is the touchstone. The words of their great poets, that is Mahakavis, is the yardstick. There will always be good and bad poets, but what stands the test of time are clean expressions, unburdened by the weight of narrow interests and flimsy thoughts. Such persons' words are the authority. Yes, it is true that the words of religious pioneers also have importance, but while establishing a religion, there is a compulsion that other religions' principles have to be countered and one's own have to be asserted. Like a tailor, own has to be held firmly, some cutting has to be done of unwanted portions, and own weak issues have to be bolstered. For a person purely involved in literally literary creation, this compulsion is not there. He can describe whatever he has been witness to, give full rein to his imagination without a sense of ownership. He can afford to be impartial. He has the poetic freedom to depict the whole world the way he wants, whether others accept it or not. He is beyond aspirations for name and fame. If he also happens to be clean at heart, what occurs in his mind is the highest form of culture. He gives expression to his views without fear. He cannot tell something that does not appeal to his mind out of fear or gratitude. To know the true value of a nation's culture, you have to read these authoritative utterances of such great poets of that country. We do not know if today's literature will last and for how long, but what has infiltrated into people's daily life for thousands of years, being quoted by the unread and the learned alike, such as words of poets like Mahakavi Kalidasa, Avayar, William Shakespeare, and Lord Tennyson, should be taken as truly representative. Then, when religious leaders such as Kumarila Bhattar and Vedanta Deshikan quote the words of a poet, then their words become authoritatively representative of that country's culture. Kalidasa was such a poet. Aim for music is peace. Appar Swamigal has given a list of things most pleasing in this world. Though they seem to be pleasing for the senses, actually they are capable of giving us permanent divine happiness. What are they? First, faultless Veena music. Next is the milky light of the resplendent full moon, southerly breeze with aroma of spring flowers, then a lotus pond with buzzing bees. The pleasure of all these are like the pleasantness of the shade of the Lord's feet, he says. மாசில் வீணையும் மாலை மதியமும் வீசு தென்றலும் விங்கிள வேனிலும் மூச்சு வண்டரை பொய்கையும் போன்றதே ஈசன் எந்தை இணையடி நீழலே. While comparing sensual pleasures to the bliss of God's feats, the poet first mentions Masil Veenai. Veenai is a stringed instrument of India, especially South India. Goddess Saraswati is depicted holding Veena in her lap. Ravana was supposed to have appeased Shiva by his Veena Ganam. Its music is very soft while simultaneously being majestic and dignified. But even a minute aberrant note could spoil the effect. Hence the phrase Masil Veenai for error free rendering of the music. Coming back to the poem, note that the poet gives importance to music as the first of sensual pleasures. Good music, especially Veena Ganam, most suited for Carnatic music, will take us to God's lotus feet. Our forefathers surrendered their music as an offering to God's feet. Music took them and the listeners to that very destination. Maharshi Yagyavalkya, who gave us the Dharma Shastras, said, playing the veena in perfect Sruti pitch without breaking the Laya beat. When you do Nadopasana, that is Nada Upasana, adoring of music, that is enough to show you the heavenly path. You do not have to do any other effort of yoga or puja or tapasya. Veena Vadana Tatvagnaha Shruti Jati Visradaha Talagnanaha Aprayatenena Moksha Marga Sa Gachati. The additional advantage is that not only the musician but all the listeners too will reap all the benefits of experiencing the bliss of oneness with God by his this rendering. Goddess Saraswati is always playing on the veena. No worldly, secular, irreligious singing. Singing and music should ever be about divinity. A shloka in Saundirya Lahari describes the beauty of mother's neck starting with Kale Rekha Tisro. She is said to have 3 wrinkles in her neck. That is the Lakshana or indicator of noble womanhood, like the Adam's apple. In men's necks, Lord Parmeshwara swallowed the Alahala poison. He was stopped from gulping it, lest the entire universe in his stomach may be destroyed. It remained in the throat, coloring his neck a brilliant blue, that he got the name Nilakant. So, nobility in men is indicated by Adam's apple in the throat. Similarly, women have three lines in the neck. That's all women are replicas of mother's form only. When Acharya, that is Adi Shankara, describes it, he says, as there are three octaves in music, namely lower, middle, and higher, the three lines in your neck are the Jadeja, Madhyama, Gandhara, Gramams. All the sonorous ragas have emerged from these three lines only. After all, you are an expert in all the intricate nuances of music that the three lines are clearly delineating the origin of the three levels of music. This above description is also indicative of the Advaita Parama Acharya's music expertise. Music itself is capable of dissolving our separateness into oneness. Mahakavi Kalidasa describes goddess Parvati holding a veena in her lap as Shyamala in Navaratna Malika and says Sarigama Pada Niratam. He says that her delicate softness of heart and the inner quietness of her being are revealed by her music, Shantam Mrudula Swantam. This shows that, however much music may titillate the senses, end effect of music should be peace and quietude. Moreover, by music, hearts could be softened into experiencing the delicate feeling of true and unconditional love. Muthuswami Dikshadhar, one of the musical trinity of Carnatic classical music, singing devotional music, dissolved himself in love and peace of Mother Shyamala, who is also Meenakshi, who excels in 10 different types of gamaka or rolling of the voice. Tyagaraja Swamigal, another of the music trinity, sang in Samaraga Santamu Lekha Saukyamu Ledu, saying that without inner quietness you cannot have peace. His message can be understood simply by listening to the song, even if you do not know the language. It is this peacefulness in which Upper melted his separate identity in comparing the ambrosial shadow of our father's twin lotus feet to the music of Marcel Vinay quoted earlier. Experience God through music. Everybody knows that goddess of knowledge Saraswati keeps a veena in her lap. Kalidasa describes the consort of Shiva, Parashakti, also as having a veena in her hands in the Navaratna Mala Stotram. He says that she is playing on the veena with her fingertips absorbed in the delectable sweetness of the octaves Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa. Sarigama Padani Ratam Tam Veena Sankranta Kanta Hastantam. Thus immersed in music, Shivakanta, that is Shiva's wife, is Shanta, that is very peaceful, and Sa Mrudula Swanta, that is delicately soft hearted. Her I am prostrating to, says Kalidasa, Shantam Mrudula Swantam. Kuchabharatantam Namami Shivakantam. The way Kalidasa portrays, it seems that because she is deeply so absorbed in music, that she is a picture of serenity and tranquility. Because of the musical experience, her heart has the delicate softness of the petals of a flower and is overflowing with kindness and love. When the divinity's female aspect is thus conceived, she is known as Shyamala. If you pray with the innocence of a child to God in that form of bliss, peace, and love musically combined, she would fill you with a continuous stream of her grace. Happiness is automatic in her being. When we surrender to Shivakanta, we do not have to pray anymore. So let me reiterate that music evokes happiness, bliss, peace, tranquility, soft heartedness, and grace. What we try to attain through reading the Vedas, yoga, prayers, years of penance, etc., can easily be attained through hearing music. Rishi Yagyavalkya, who has given us the Smriti of Dharma Shastras, mentions Veena Ganam particularly as a vehicle for the supreme experience of divinity. He uses the word aprayatnena that is effortlessly. Advaita Anubhava means experiencing God without any adjuncts of first, second, third person differentiation. No separateness, no otherness, no maleness or femaleness, no present, no past, no future, here and there and everywhere. This experience can be obtained without trying through music. You do not have to do anything. Simply stop thinking and let yourself go in singing or listening. Both are assured of the ultimate. There is no other sadhana or method or process by which both the artist and the audience or the witness can be transported through transcendence. The musical trinity of Tyagaraja, Shyama Shastrigal, and Dikshadhar are clear proof of the fact that music can take you to the beyond. Ambal is the Shakti, that is power. Sound or Nadam is Shivam or God. Ambal the mother is engrossed in music, that is Nadam, that is Shivam. They are not two different entities, but one Advaita Ananda. When you approach the divine through music, you become naturally entitled to the mother's blessings. Gandharva Vedam. There is a Tamil word purattal, which has a meaning which is a mix of the following words such as blend, twist, turn, mix, combine, fuse, coalesce, and concoct. The colloquial modern equal slang is kalakkal. Why is there so much importance to this act of mixing? In some way, the entire universe is a matter of mixing. Actually, this kalakkal is an art. All art is known as kalai in Tamil. Cooking is also an art in which various ingredients are mixed in various sizes at different temperatures. All art is born of mixing only. We have so many books. They are a mix of words and words are a mix of letters. English language has only 26 alphabets. The whole of literature is a purattal of letters into words, words into ideas, ideas into concepts, phrases, idioms, expressions, and so on. When we write or talk, no one listens to it. But when a poet gives expression to ideas, in that there is beauty and attraction. Instead of random mixing, there is a method in the process which, when Rabindranath Tagore does, each word becomes a gem in its setting. Painting is similarly an art of mixing. Take a brush, crayons, and a palette, mix the colors into different combinations of emphasis. You and me, if we do that, we may end up with nothing noticeable or something noticeably ugly. The same colors in the same setting may turn out to be a thing of enormous beauty and allure when a Raja Ravi Verma does. There is a painting of a lady holding an earthen oil lamp in her hands in the Mysore Maharaja's palace in the staircase. The small lamp is hidden behind her fingers with the two palms held together. You do not see the lamp, but when you switch off all the lights in the room, you can see the phosphorescence lighting up the girl's face, hands, and the facade of the dress. You do not see the flame of the light, but you see the lambent effect in her translucent fingers. You can actually trace the blood vessels. That is Kalakal. Music is also Puratal only. We make noise. Take a violin or any musical instrument. In untrained hands, it will make only jarring sounds or squeaky noises. But when the sound we make is brought under the control of discipline of beat, pitch, and harmony, as tutored by a guru and practiced by the protege, it metamorphoses into pleasing music. Within the constraints of the discipline of raga, tala, and laya, kalakal of the notes seemingly boundlessly takes you to the seventh heavens with the sky as the only limit. More the purital, more is the thrill. Such musicians are paid handsomely, whereas people will pay to stop us from singing. For singing, we do the kalakal with the human voice. In drums such as mridangam, tawil, ganjira, and tabla, the mixing is done as leather surfaces. In veena, guitar, violin, mandolin, and tanpura, the puratal is done on strings. In such instruments, between the puratal, there is a background sound known as anurananam, which gives the laya. The sound of the earlier pull or strum on the string gives on the rap and entwine around the second sound. This is anurananam. In the flute, saxophone, nadaswaram, and such instruments, air passes through the holes and different sounds are created by closing and opening the holes by the fingertips or some devices. Same thing happens in harmonium. The idea is kalakal and purattal. Instead of kalakal of only sounds, if you add turning and twisting the human body parts with facial expressions, it becomes natyam or classical dancing. Dancing without facial bhava or abhinaya is nrutam. When we do systematic puja of the 64 upacharas, nrutam is also one. In classical dance forms, we get the happiness of hearing the music, meaning of the words, facial expressions, and angacharya anandam. That is the thrill of seeing the graceful movements of the human body parts doing the kalakal. All these arts are collectively known as Gandharva Vedam. Gandharvas are happy go lucky people. They are always singing and dancing. That is why all these art forms are together known as Gandharva Vedam. Value of speech. Despite there being an infinite number of life forms in existence, it is only human beings that are endowed with the power of speech. There are many languages all over the world. From speech, there are as many number of alphabets, scripts, and grammar. With speech as the capital input, we have schools, colleges, libraries, and newspapers all over the world. In the world of animals, there is no college, library, or the printing press. They do not have the power of clear expression. But does it mean that they are in a worse condition than the human being? It does not seem so. They do not seem to have as many diseases. They do not seem to intensely aspire and perspire in accumulating wealth and properties. They do not seem to worry about what they did or said yesterday and what they are going to do tomorrow. Somehow they do get some food, grow, live, and survive. Even if they kill and live on each other, somehow all animals and all life forms of all varieties are living, thriving, and proliferating. Even if you come back to human existence, the nomads and tribes, sand schools, colleges, library, printing press, etc., seem to be simpler, peaceful, and well behaved. People in the jungles of Africa and America may have no libraries or colleges, but they also seem to be having no courts of law and jails. That is to say, the so called uncivilized and unlettered people seem to be better behaved than the so called educated and civilized people of the world. With more and more civilization and education, we seem to be advancing by leaps and bounds in forbidden criminal mentality and activities. Greater the education, greater seems to be the potential for sins. As much as we have increased assets and wealth by modern means of civilization, our sense of deprivation and wants and dissatisfaction seem to have increased. The word enough seems to be missing. In our minds, mentally and comprehension, the needs and wants are always more than the supply. The written and spoken expression seems to be used mainly in spreading what is not to be done. The education system, newspaper and books, and all instead of giving man a sense of peace and fulfillment seem to be pulling and propelling him in towards greater and greater dissatisfaction, further propelling him towards illegal activities. Under this situation, it is not clear as to whether the special power of speech that the human being has been endowed with is a divine gift or a curse. When I think about this, I wonder as to why they have been putting down the animal world while extolling the life of the Homo sapiens. From the time of its birth till its death, lives on instinct only, thereby obviating any sin born of its mind. It is man who endlessly instigates man towards accountability. As much as education and civilization is high, that much man is compelled to gain expertise in bluff, disguise, double dealing, fraud, chicanery, and deceit, thereby increasing the workload of Chitragupta in the Yama's court. There is saying that Narajanmam Durlabhyam அதுவே உயர்ந்தது, meaning to be born as a human being is not easily obtained and it is the highest and advanced form of life. I was wondering as to how this statement is true. In thinking about this, I could identify a great problem in animal life. Though animals can commit no sin, they all have to bear with a great fear, the fear of being killed, that is, the fear of death. Even the most dangerous animal, like the tiger or barracuda or crocodile, has this fear of death. Man also has this fear of death, but he is the only animal that could get over this fear. How to get over this fear? If he can obviate his being born again, he can get over this fear of death. Once he comes to realize that Ellam Namdan, all are one, then he will have no fear of anybody or anything. Death after such realization of oneness will mean that there will be no more of being born or reincarnation. To obtain this knowledge and reach this stage of absolute fearlessness, obviating the need for any more births, known as Janma Nivritti, the great saints and sages of yore made use of the power of speech. Vedas, Vedantam, Itihasas, Puranas, and Dharma Shastras came into being for this purpose because there was this power to speak. I was somewhat soothed and mollified by understanding that there is such a great and noble purpose of this power of speech. By this God given power of the mind, brain, speech, and spoken, written expression, without hurting oneself and others, we can say and do much to ameliorate the problems of sin, fear, and sorrow in the world. That is what we should be using this power of expression for. The base for all this is the use of speech for devotion and God related activities. That is why the very first time the child is taught to write, they catch hold of the child's fingers and make it write and simultaneously chant Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya, God the ever present witness, Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam, will keep watching as to how this man is using his power of speech in his lifetime. If he does not make proper use of this noble tool for the benefit of the world at large and his personal ennoblement in the next life, he will deny the man this power of speech. He will cause him to be born as an animal. God is the origin of words and its meanings. It is very wrong to think that what we see and hear with our eyes and ears are the only things that are true and everything else false. Whatever is said in the Vedas and Puranas are figments of imagination. What we see now with our eyes is through the lens in the eyes. There could be light waves not discriminable to our eyes. Infrareds and ultraviolets cannot be seen by human eyes. Human ear can hear only within approximately 10 and 110 decibels. Modern science proves this. How can it be said that anything unheard and unseen cannot be true? The great Maharshis who had divine powers have seen with their Jnana Drishti, that is divine vision, and have described scenes unseen by us. They have heard divine sounds and given us the mantras. Such greats see the entire universe as a dance of divinity. That is the dance of Lord Nataraja. All sounds are born out of that movement of dancing Nataraja. He is dancing very fast. When he stops for a fraction of time, the two decorated hair, Jadai Virudugal, are stretched on either side due to the centrifugal forces. Like taking a snapshot of rapid movements, the Shilpi, that is the artist making the sculpture, has captured that movement for posterity. That is the Nataraja sculpture that is visible to our eyes. The world, as discriminable to the human ear, has also come from him. The Udukai is a double drum of the shape of hour hourglass, with a string from the center holding a bead at the end, which strikes against the leather surface on either side, making a staccato sound. When it is held between the fingers in one hand and the wrist is twisted right and left speedily. The Udukai in Nataraja's hands is much bigger than what the gypsy Gudugudu Kiran has, but smaller than what the Mariamman Kovil priest has. Lord Nataraja's Udukai is called the Dakka or Damrugam. The Damrugam keeps the beat throughout the dance for Nataraja. When he stops, it gives a flourish. As Vishwakarma made the statue of Nataraja's dancing pose, Nandikeshwarar heard and absorbed the sound of the flourish with which the Udukai came to a stop. He named it Maheshwara Sutram. There were 14 sound groups in it. They start with A, E, U and end in Hal. Keeping these sound groups as the basis for Vyakaranam, that is Sanskrit grammar, Maharshi Panini wrote the Ashta Adhyayi. Vedas are four, its Vedangas or parts are six. Mimamsa, Nyayam, Puranam, Dharma Shastras together are four. All these 14 are the basic scriptures of Hindu Santana Dharma. These are the 14 Vidya Sthanam of education spots. These exactly correspond with the 14 sound collections from Shiva's Damruga. I said that they start with A, pronounced as the first Tamil letter A and not exactly as the English one A, and end with Al. As per grammar, Al indicates all the letters. Point to note that here, this Al is in all languages. In Urdu, Alif is the first letter. In Greek, Alpha is the first letter. In English, alphabet is the word. Thus, all languages and all sounds have come from God. Call him what you may. Yagna Narayana Dikshadhar has written a very ingenious poem on this. Pani means hands, Nadam means sounds. Pani Ninandam is the sound made by hands, which became Maharshi Panini's Shastra, Ashtadhyayi. Patanjali wrote the Vyakarana Bhashyam, that is the book on grammar. He is Avatara of Adisesham, the snake bed of Mahavishnu. He is entwined around Shiva's feet or Padam. Patanjali has given explanations to the sound. So when Nataraja shakes his hands and legs, all the languages and grammar come into being, says the poet. The inner meaning of all this is that for all words and their meaning, God Ishvara is the origin, and in between, that is the medium. Once we understand this, we will stand under and not misuse it. Whatever we write, speak, and whomsoever all that be born as God's own is the ultimate usefulness of being. Writer's duties. Rishi Vyasa divided the Vedas of delicately subtle principles and intricate procedures into four parts and imparted the knowledge to four disciples. They in turn gave them to some students who were merited by being capable of subjecting themselves to the elaborate restrictions as imposed by the Vedas. Vyasa also created the popular Puranas so that the subtle principles are brought within the Puranas so that the subtle principles are brought within the comprehension of the common man. He gave Sutta Pauranikar the responsibility of spreading the Puranas. Sutta got the name Purnanikar because he used to visit all over the country to give lectures on Puranas. Sutta was a non-Brahmin. That did not reduce the respect he received from very learned and knowledgeable rishis and Brahma rishis, who would receive him with due deference and listen to the Puranas with reverence and attention. In Vedas it is said, Satyam Vada, that is, tell the truth. This direction became the story of Raja Harishchandra, easily understandable to all. Dharmam Chara, that is, do the appreciate just, is elaborately explained throughout Mahabharata. The rule of the Veda, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, and Atiti Devo Bhava, that is, that treat your parents, guru, and guests as God, is beautifully brought out by the epic Ramayana. Whatever is said in the Vedas, suc- succinctly meant for the keen, incisive minds, is made eloquently easy for the general public in the Puranas and Upapuranas. From age old times, the Puranikars have been popularizing the Puranas by narrating the stories in the Puranas with quotations of the original Sanskrit poems while explaining the meanings in the collectual for the understanding of the common man in every nook and corner of the country. From the from the stone carvings, it can be seen that Purana Pravachanam, that is, lectures on Puranas, have been going on in all the temples, especially Mahabharatam, Ramayanam, stories of Nala, Dushyanta, and so on. Like the daily prayers, Pravachanam has been a daily ritual. Funds for the conduct of such pravachanam has been earmarked specifically for this purpose as per the stone etchings. Till recently, this has been responsible in keeping the general public more morally oriented. They might have been uneducated but were highly cultured. That way, they were better educated. Till the printing press was discovered, all education was imparted by way of mouth and received by way of ear. Those days, only a few knew the art of writing on palm leaves. So, all Vedas and Vedantam were spread by this process only. Once printing press arrived, books and newspapers followed and usurped the place of Pauranikars. So, writers, authors, and reporters are the modern day Pauranikars who speak about everything other than the Puranas. As Sutta and following him, other Puranikars disseminated dharma through interesting stories. It is the responsibility of every writer and author to do likewise. What the general public desires or wants should not be the yardstick. Whatever be written or reported should be made interesting while at the same time should be ennobling for the heart, mind, and intellect intrinsically. Good material should be put across in yet newer methods. Newspaper people should consider themselves as lifetime learners and students. Then only your urge to know newer things will remain alive and active and be able to tell others. Concoction of news and reporting for remuneration is as good as a crime. Truth should be given sugar coated. Only the covering should be sugar and not the whole thing. Too much sugar is not good for health. Just for the reason that people are attracted by sensational news does not mean that for the sake of increase in circulation of the paper or magazine you give such coloration. If the owners, editors, and reporters sincerely try to stick to the aim of collective refinement and individual advancement, the reader's taste and interest will move in that direction, raising oneself by raising the readers. Attitudes and tastes should be the motto. Thus, they may be blessed with the opportunity to work towards Atmakshemam, Lokakshemam, Shanti, and Subhiksham, that is, well being of self, public, and peace, and above all, do their duties as a true service. Mahabharata. Brahmi is the lipi or script for all the Indian languages in which all the old writings are available, recorded, etched on stone, or carved on palm leaves. Even in very old such recordings, the writing is beautiful and flowery. Then, in the stone carvings of the Pallava period, the writing is very neat as though printed with literary merit. Later, in the copper plates of the Chola period, letters and language are quite good, but both are relatively of a lesser standard. The older writings were more accurate, and the beauty of writing was so precise that it made you feel like touching it to your eyes with reference. When you see copper plates of, say, 2 to 3 centuries back, you note that there is no order, mistakes are aplenty, and the writing is full of grammatical errors, with the script is atrocious. Similarly, I compared the stone and metal statues of yore with later ones. Pallava statues are very good. Chola period ones are okay. Then, as time progressed, there is regression in standards. If you get one made now, there is neither the classical beauty nor the divine presence noticeable. How was the behavior of the people of olden times? That was also of a very high standard. Megasthenes the Greek, who came to this country 2000 years back, says even if somebody gave something as a dole, there was nobody to take it. People of this country do not steal. They do not know as to how to bluff or say a lie. Peacefulness, good habits, nice attitude, and excellent behavior were the characteristics of people of those days. Now things have changed so much. How were the people of those days? How were their minds? Why can it why can it not be like that now? These are the questions that haunt you, thinking about them. Generally, if there is discipline in life, it reflects favorably in all aspects of life. That is why the old time statues, paintings, calligraphy were all orderly and beautiful. I wondered as to why, when the ancestors could maintain such high standards, the people of later times, but of the same stock, should deteriorate. There has to be a proper reason for this falling in standards. Those days, there was an order that in all the temples Mahabharatam was to be read. There were standing orders with fund provisions for this specific purpose, as evidenced by sasanams or written directions in copper plates. Nowadays, even in big temples, nobody is reading Bharatam. In some odd corners in some villages, it is still a practice. Even now, there are people visiting some of these village temples to hear Bharatam being read. Even now, when cinema and other mediums of entertainment are attracting the people's mind, if there are people listening to it, think of what would have been the popularity of it in earlier times when there was no other means of entertainment. What is there in Bharatam? Patience and truthfulness is personified by Dharma. As a role model for keeping one's words, there is Bhishma. Karna is an epitome for philanthropy. Arjuna is immutable for bravery and humanness. Similarly, if you take Ramayana, Sri Rama stands for ideal morality and justice. Sita is a takeout for womanhood. Even the villain of the epic Ravana's wife, Mandodari, is irreproachable in her behavior. When you read and hear such stories, one tends to relate to the ideal characters. When faced with real life situations, even if one cannot exactly replicate their behavior, one is often prompted to emulate. The power of suggestion works automatically. That is why the people of the past in this country could keep up a high level of discipline which reflected in all their activities. Culture of a society is a harmonious evolute by the combined effect of the ambient sense of justice, mutual respect, and high morality in the society. To change that characteristic culture of this country, there are many contrary inputs. It is best to revive some of the old good habits. You cannot bring back the past, but we must make an effort in the right direction for God to give us a hand. Actually, virtually, God has given us the hands, legs, eyes, and the mind to use them. Before He gives us a kick in the pants, it is time we woke up to the problems of modern times. Now there are too many temptations and distractions. People are confused as to whom to follow, what to see and hear. There are too many parties, pulls, forces trying to sell or convert. At this juncture, Ramayana and Mahabharata are more relevant to be studied, heard, and absorbed. Science and inner fulfillment. Some Britishers hold the view that Indians do not care for things that are useful in day to day life because their Vedantam declares the world as Maya, that is unreal. Some Indians, believing this to be true, say that all Hindu Shastras are about the unseen God and the Atma. So they criticize anything Indian, especially religion and philosophy, that there is nothing useful in them for worldly life. Nothing can be farther from the truth. There is no science that is not there in our Shastras. This fact will be known if you study them. In Ayurveda, Charaka and Susruta were two leading lights. Modern doctors, that two surgeons, are flabbergasted by some of the procedures described by Charaka and Susruta. Atharvana Veda describes methods and medicines for treatment of war wounded as found by the professor in Kashi University. In engineering technology too, our forefathers have shown remarkable expertise. In Samarangana Sutras, Bhojaraja has described the basic principles for making many machines, including aeroplanes. There is an iron pillar near Qutub Minar in Delhi, which has been scientifically dated to have been made some 2000 years before. People wonder at as to what could have been the size of the furnace and the technology behind making it. In Tamil Nadu itself, there are many such engineering marvels. Kallanaikat, the dam on the Kaveri River, stands as an evidence of architecture and technical expertise prevalent in India many centuries before the British takeover. Experts wonder as to what could have been the material used to cement the stones in this Anaikat. In Kodungai Audiyar temple, a rock has been polished to the fineness of paper. In Tiruvallimalai is the engineering marvel of a mammoth ark at the entrance of the steps leading to the temple, which makes you wonder about the level of expertise those days. In Tamil, Padinen Chittar Padalgal, that is, a collection of poems written by 18 Siddha Vaidyas that contain many medical clues of enormous value. In astronomy, many thousand years earlier, people in India were capable of calculating accurately many intricate details, including timing of eclipses and positioning of star galaxies and their relative positionings and timings in deep space, as applicable to the Earth. All arts and sciences were far advanced in Bharat Desh, that is India. But do we not see many misuses of knowledge in unworthy hands? To guard against this very likelihood, in our country, the scientific intricacies were taught only to sane, matured, and responsible individuals. That is why they are couched in languages not easily understood by the common man, as though hidden in code. The Tamil songs written by the 18 Siddhas are also in such coded language only. If we do research and analysis even now, we can draw much from our Shastras. What is not easily understood should not be ignored, since future generations could benefit from them. It is our duty to safeguard the Shastras whether we understand them or not. In other countries, this scientific knowledge has grown only in the recent past, within the past 5 to 6 centuries. Having forgotten our rich heredity of knowledge, we are now learning from others with one basic difference. All avenues of knowledge had been kept in our country as subsidiary to knowledge of the self or Atma, that is Atma Vidya. The West, which has advanced scientifically now, has gone in for development purely for worldly luxuries and comfort, thus being completely money profit oriented. They have completely lost the inner equilibrium. With globalization and modernization, the tendency is now universal. Some among them are slowly realizing the futility of such purely worldly endeavor and are turning towards the East for bhakti and Atma Shanti. We, on the other hand, having ignored our inner harmony of Atma Vidya, are running after their half cooked modern gadgets, ways, and methods. From the Iron Age, they are moving towards Golden Age, and we are doing the reverse. While they are moving from deficiency towards fulfillment, we are forgetting the direction of the Vedas. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityoma Amritam Gamaya. That is a prayer to oneself and God. Take me from the unreal to the real, from darkness unto light, and from mortality to immortality. Can we deny posterity their due? There is no art or science or any other idea, concept, stuff, or material not to be found in our Shastras. In the Samarangana Sutram by Bhojaraja, methods of manufacturing various machines and instruments are to be found. You will be surprised to know that it talks of engineering and aircraft. Having talked of the theory, Bhojaraja says in the book, because I have not described the method of making it, do not conclude that I do not know about it. I have refrained from doing so only due to the fact that manufacturing it will create more problems than convenience. On studying Bhojaraja's book with some experts, it became clear that he was talking of using balloon technology for keeping the craft airborne with some engine for powering and directing it. The two world wars have proved beyond doubt that man is capable of misusing the latest technology for destructive purposes. When making of aircrafts, atomic bomb and such capabilities became feasible, in olden times there were separate books for each branch of art and sciences. Varaha Mihira has authored a book in which he has given a condensed version with a chapter each for the study of plants, animals, birds, metals, and so on. You will be surprised to know that the book was written 1500 years back. That also means that these subjects were being researched and analyzed much before that. Medical science was Ayurveda, Weaponry was Dhanurveda. Old people's engineering knowledge astounds even the experts of today. There are basic books for such subjects. These scriptures and shastras have been nurtured and protected from generation to generation for tens of thousands of years and come to us. It is beyond comprehension as to how they have come down to us despite not knowing printing. It is sad that we are neither getting to know about them nor are we doing anything to safeguard them for posterity. We have the dubious honor of denying posterity their due in terms of heritage. There was a blind man walking with a lantern. Someone accosted him, "You are a blind man. Why are you carrying a lantern?" The the blind man answered, "I am doing so lest people like you may bash against me." Similarly, even if we do not understand the old Shastras, it is our duty to protect them and hand over to the future generations so that maybe somebody in the future will make use of it. At the least, we should not give scope for an acquisition that we have, despite having all the facilities to take care by our uncaring attitude, let go by default what has been nourished, nurtured, and protected for thousands of years. In the olden times, protection of Shastras was the responsibility of the kings. Now there are no more Rajas. State and central governments are there. They have no time for anything. They have their hands full with language disputes, state border disputes, political rivalries, problems of corruption, parochialism, nepotism, and so on. So there is no meaning in expecting anything from them. Neither can we say that we are too busy. We can neither afford to disown responsibility nor procrastinate. Look at the animals in the forest. Lion kills lesser animals. Tiger kills the deer. Still, all types of calves, cubs, and young ones are born and thriving and playing. We should learn from them. Whatever the hurdles, it is our duty to study, research, record, and hand over the Shastras for posterity. The greatness of Tamil culture. Out of all the temples in the world, half are in India. Out of that, half are in Tamil Nadu. Out of all Shastras, more than half of all devotional writings are in India. Out of these, two more than half are from Tamil Nadu. People of Tamil Nadu can be rightfully proud that a majority of scriptures on palm leaves in the whole world are in Tamil and they have come from in and around Kumbakonam and the Kaveri basin. There is another reason for us to be proud about. Normally, when people migrate, they tend to forget their own language and culture and adopt the language and culture of the new place. This is clear from a study of world history. I am not only referring about some Tamils going to North India on transfer. Many times this has happened in the past that Brahmins from here have gone and settled in other parts of the north. There was much give and take between Karnataka and Andhra with Tamil Nadu during the Chola regime. Many have migrated to those places during those times. If we come across a person having a caste or family name as Dravid in areas north of Tamil Nadu, it must be in all likelihood that his forefathers had migrated from Tamil Nadu. But they may not know Tamil and or this fact. The point is that after a long period, the minority people tend to forget their culture and even the language. The Tamils and other Indians in West Indies is a clear example. By saying this, I am not contributing to the idea of Aryan North and Dravidian South. This is a canard propagated for obvious reasons by Britishers as part of their divide and rule package. If you study our old Shastras, There are no grounds for such division, calling them two different races. This country was divided into 10 provinces of 5 each of Gaudas and Dravidas. This was purely a regional or geographical separation, not based on races. Later, Gauda Desham came to be indicative of Bengal and Dravida Desham of Tamil Land. Prior to that, and even later, the whole country was considered as one race and one religion. I was talking about Brahmins who migrated to other parts of the country with whom only the Dravid name is sticking to. They have neither any knowledge of Tamil nor are they aware of Tamil culture. They have fully appropriated the local language and culture. This happens over a period to any migrant community all over the world. Tamil people are very good in adapting themselves to changed conditions. They pick up others' language and culture very fast. The Tamil have a lot of acumen and brains. They can speak Hindi better than many North Indians. The Tamil can quote the finer aspects of English grammar to the British. Take any subject, whether it be ballroom dancing or Hindustani music, the Tamil has the acumen to quickly master it. There is something good in this capability of his and grounds for criticism too. We can appreciate the fact that he does not treat any of these things as alien, but the facility with which he is ready to copy others should not be at the cost of sacrificing his own time tested culture. Tamil language and some of the region specific culture traits are very powerful, oriented towards enabling man through this worldly life. So, when even weak cultures, not so very old ones, are capable of absorbing the identity and culture of immigrant, one would expect that people who have come from other parts of the country or the world would have been totally assimilated out of recognition in Tamil Nadu. Reality is the opposite. There are many from the states of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Punjab, and others in Tamil Nadu. The Tamil have accommodated outsiders since immemorial and somehow enabled them to remain and retain their mother tongue, original culture, and traditions. Like a refrigerator which safe keeps vegetables and cooked food, the Tamil land has protected and looked after other cultures. It has not only sustained and nurtured other cultures as islands of pristine quality but enabled them to bloom and refine. For example, Tyagaraja's Telugu Kritis are directly a product of the Tamil earth and Kaveri water, not to be matched by any literary creation of the Telugu land. It is a special quality of the Tamil not to impose their own culture and language on others but provide benign protection. Om Shri Mahapiriva Sharanam.